Welcome to Fieldsports Britain, and this week we've got people with problems. Top stalker Oliver Power has a problem finding game in undergrowth. Luckily he has the right scope to do it. And if he has any problems in the field, he's also allowing us a sneak peek in his stalking backpack.
I have a nice seat to keep my derriere from the wet and the mud and the umps.
People all over the world have a problem with shooting rhinos, but is it okay if it's done in a sustainable way? We ask a Danish big game hunter. First, Andy Crow has a problem of agricultural proportions with geese. Farmer Andy Crow has to defend his crops from ground and air attack. Rabbits and deer are the main offenders advancing over his fields, with the FAF, the Feral Air Force, showing no mercy from the skies. But at this time of year it isn't just fighter pigeons wreaking havoc on the winter wheat. Bomber Command is also peckish. Geese. There's a muddy puddle on the farm which is seeing a lot of air traffic. Some days Andy is counting up to 60 geese, so he has arranged for a friendly ack-ack battery to try and shoot down a few this morning. Sporting Shooter magazine editor Dom Holtam is here, sporting a very handsome moustache, known as a trucker. Practically a Freddy.
It's for charity. What? Have you not heard of Movember?
Too short, way too short.
It's for people with testicular cancer.
So what's that on then?
Just to raise awareness and money for charity. I mean, not an issue for you, you haven't got any, but...
Then there's Mr. Crow himself, doing his bit for charity.
Poppy appeal. Out the heroes. Yeah.
So, what's the plan?
Well, we've all got here early this morning. We've got about 60, 70 Canada geese coming into a pond which we've got on the farm here. It's been a bit of a problem at the moment. We've got a bit of winter wheat out on the edge of the pond, and they seem to be grazing it off. So this morning we're just going to try and thin them out a bit. They do come in two lots, as you can hear. One lot's just coming in now, so better get on and get out there and get ready for them coming in.
Andy and his cousin Gary take cover in the reeds. Dom and Justin have the hide under the oak. Thankfully for the camera, the geese are late and there is some light when we hear the first distant honks. If you've never experienced it, please make the effort to have a go. It really does get the blood pumping. Everyone has a shot. A few hit the deck and Amber is off after them. After another 10 minutes we start seeing geese arrive in smaller numbers, making them easier to single out. In all, we have 10 birds on the ground. Crowman talks us through the technique and the shells used today, as he can't use lead on English wildfowl.
Plan was today, the lads take the first shots as they're coming in. Me and Gary shoot as they go out. As for cartridges, well, we're using Ely VIP steel and the bismuth, a combination of either of the two. Ely have given us them to try out, so they work well. We've shot a few geese. Even shooting on over ponds, you still have to use the steel and the bismuth, so and they seem to perform well.
What about technique?
Technique? They miss them and me and Gary shoot them. That's the technique. Dom's over there. He's worked really well today as a bird scarer. I will say Dom did shoot a couple, but that's the technique. Dom scares them, we shoot them, and you can see we've got a nice bag full.
What about lead and things like that?
Lead, forget the body. It takes a lot of pressure to get the shot through the down and the feathers. Just ignore the body, come from behind. It's the head you want to be hitting. You want to get right up the front end. You want to shoot it as if it's a small bird. They're travelling fast as well, so you've really got to get through them. But it's the front end you want to be hitting.
As we line out the birds, Crowman can't help noticing the number of pigeons moving overhead. One flock comes low and there are so many birds you can hear them. It's all part of the seasonal migration.
A lot of people don't agree with me when I say they migrate, but anyone that's into pigeon shooting and knows their pigeons, they do know that they do migrate. So, but they migrate in their thousands. Like Monday, coming through here, they was going, it's strange really, because they was going from south to north, and usually this time of year they're going north to south. But they were coming through, there must have been in excess of 20,000 pigeons come through here on Monday. Just hedge hopping and just moving through. Another pack of pigeons going over top now. They're just coming through here all the time.
Here is the damage that has been done by the geese. A good acre has been munched over the last few weeks.
This week I have put a bit of corn on the pond just to try and keep them off of this, because they were just going across it like a flock of sheep. At the moment it's so mild, the corn's still growing, so it's getting away from it. It will come back, but if they just stay there all winter, they just strip this field, and then once they finish this field they just go into the next field. I'm quite lucky, I can keep them off, but a lot of the farmers down on the marsh and that, they get hundreds of geese on their fields and they just graze them off. So
that's for Christmas, eh?
Yeah, good for Christmas. A lot of people say they're like eating. I read it in one of the shooting magazines. I think it must have been the Sporting Shooter. Some chap reckon put a brick in the oven and a Canada goose and chuck the goose away and eat the brick. But I've eaten a hell of a lot of geese and I haven't found one of them ones that tastes like a brick yet.
Dom has shot his first ever goose today, so has he enjoyed this type of shooting?
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. It's quite exciting because they're so big and make so much noise when they come in. It's it's quite exciting really. I can see why the appeal of people going out onto the foreshore and shooting out on the marsh. It must be really haunting hearing them coming in a lonely landscape, but easier to carry them back to the farm.
Christmas has come early, only this time these geese are getting fat thanks to Crowman's wheat. And the guns are going to put on a few extra pounds with a proper farmhouse breakfast. What a way to start the day. Geese there, a fly in the ointment for any farmer. And Andy Crow more than a thorn in the side of the geese. Now let's go to a tin tack in the toe of the antis. It's David on the Fieldsports channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Britain News. Just 35% of local councils know where the food they feed school children comes from. The Countryside Alliance Foundation wants the government to bring in a minimum British food buying standards policy for schools, similar to that it began for the civil service earlier this year. This while British game meat is becoming ever more popular. A chip shop in Norfolk has found a new dish to attract diners. French's Chippy in Wells next to the sea now serves deep-fried pheasant. A Chinese petrochemical billionaire has become the first person in China to own his own island, and he's just opened it up as a put-and-take hunting reserve. He's released wild boar, pheasants and barking deer on the 200-acre island in the East China Sea. He charges £12 to enter, £10 to rent a rifle and £1 per bullet. Is it a crocodile? Is it a huge snapping turtle? Is it a publicity stunt? The River Lee monster is back. A houseboat resident on the river which passes through London's Olympic Park witnessed an attack.
To our amazement, one of the geese just went vertically down into the water.
Mike Wells says it was more likely to be a turtle than a crocodile.
And it was big, whatever the hell it was, because there was so little hesitation.
But Mr. Wells has another axe to grind. He campaigns against the Olympic Park development.
Fish kills that they've already had are due to the fact they've impounded the waterways in the Olympic Park.
You're now up to date with Fieldsports Britain News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David, who is of course available for weddings and bar mitzvahs. Now, some of you are going to like this, not all of you are going to like it, but would you defend this fellow's right to do it? We're taking a look at rhino shooting.
We were up at 4 o'clock in the morning, the day the rhino hunt
Torben
took place.
Espensen is a successful Danish businessman, a hunter and a gun collector. Along with Sir Jackie Stewart and Wilbur Smith, he is an ambassador for the World Forum on the Future of Sport Shooting Activities. We meet him in Sweden, where he tells us about his passion for trophies and justifies how he travels the world in pursuit of some of the planet's most endangered animals, in particular the rhino.
We took a shot at about 60 yards, and the first shot was
You
right through here.
specialise in endangered animals. That's not very nice.
Well, depending what type of glasses you have on. Asking a question like that, the first thing I'll accuse you for is having blinkers on, because then you actually don't know what's going on.
Well, tell me, what's going on?
Today, most of the hunting around the world is very regulated, controlled, at least in most of the countries. And what the anti-hunting people doesn't understand, that if it wasn't for licensed hunting, we wouldn't have any game left.
Torben has given us permission to use footage from his white rhino hunt in South Africa in 2008. After 4 hours of tracking 2 bull rhino, he has the opportunity to shoot.
After it was all over, and said to me, "Thank you, Mr. Espensen." And I was looking with a big question mark on him and said, "For what?" "For the act you just done. You shot a rhino." I said, "Yes." "Yeah, are you aware that without people like you, we would not be able to maintain the stock of rhinos we have? Because about 80% of the trophy fee you're paying is going back to maintain the wildlife. And this is one of the things that the anti-hunting person doesn't understand. If we doesn't have that money to go back to the trade and to maintain the wildlife, we wouldn't have anything left, because then everything will be open for poaching. And by the end of the day, we will just look at an empty world with no game. Is that what they want? There is an expression, what the Americans say, if it pays, it stays.
I guess you paid a great deal of money. Can you say how much?
Half a farm,
Half a farm
yes,
for a single animal.
yes.
Why?
When I was 14, I had my confirmation. And an uncle gave me a book. It was a travel description from an English lord and her ladyship back in the middle 1800s, going to Kenya on safari. But in that book there was a scene of a rhino hunt. I mean, I'm 14 years old, and I was sitting in my tiny little room, and I wasn't reading the book actually, I was eating it. But I swore, as 14 years old, I'm going to have that experience someday in my life. It took me more than half a lifetime to get there. When I celebrated 50 years, I made up my mind. I'm going to fulfill the dream I had when I was 14. So I said to friends and family, I don't want any gift. I want cash or checks. I'm going to save for rhino. And in 1998, I fulfilled my dream. And actually, to say it plain open, I was crying. I lifted my head and looked up and said, thank you. Emotion took over. It was a fantastic day for me.
Okay, bongo, Nubian ibex, southern white rhino, crocodile. You're not a bad person?
No. I benefit to the preservation of them. Tanzania is in full speed they have more or less copied the situation in South Africa. A lot of the money we pay in trophy fee is going back to the trade to maintain gamekeepers and anti-squat groups and anti-poaching groups and stuff like that. And because if we don't do that, the animal is going to disappear.
What about all the animal watchers, the tourists who go and look at animals instead of shooting them?
That's an income for the trade in the countries as well. But the problem here is these animals are not really wild anymore. To me, it doesn't mean anything. I can see a cheetah or lion lying 4 meters from a car because so used to it. Some of the wild has been taken out. Most of my animal have been taken in real wilderness. That's where I see the challenge. And to me, to be a hunter, the way I see things, I think it's a privilege. I'm very grateful that the good Lord have let me done that.
For more about the World Forum on the Future of Sport Shooting Activities, visit www.wfsa.net. Now, packing for your stalking outing can be a bit tricky. It needs to be light, quiet, and cover everything from water to waterproofs. Well, top stalker Oliver Power from the English Safari Company has honed his kit over the years. What secrets lie within?
I'm quite an apathetic stalker and try to refine what I put in my kit bag to when I take clients out or I'm on my own. I want something lightweight, durable, because I do thrash my kit around. So this is the stuff in here that I've sort of compiled over the last few years. These particular gloves are RAF pilot gloves. The reason why I have these is because they're very thin lead and you can really feel the trigger when you need to shoot, basically. I have a nice seat to keep my derriere from the wet and the mud and the umps, and it just folds out like that. It's a very good piece of kit, especially when you're stuck up in a high seat and it's just hard wood against your arse. Bit of tissue, wipe off the blood off your knife, or some clients like to go and behave like bears in the wood. One thing we can't really do without, but I'm usually wearing these all the time, these wonderful Zeiss binos. Don't go stalking if you leave these at home. Bottle of water in case I'm thirsty. Also, it's got a bit of a jet bit, get a bit of force on it to wash blood off the knife with. First aid kit, indispensable. Leading on to sort of a safety aspect, mobile phone, indispensable. If somebody decides to go and shoot themselves, we can call for an ambulance straight away. Also, just letting landowners know that we're here. Some like 24 hours notice or just want to be in contact with you. Rangefinder. I consider this a bit of an optional item. It depends where I'm stalking and how far I allow clients to shoot and just judging certain distances. Another essential piece of kit is this wonderful system with a hook on it and a saw that I can get through, and it has a long strap on it for dragging, and also it's very good if you want to do a gralloch out of the field and suspend a deer up. I have a long hook like that, dragging under the chin. This is the knife I use the majority of the time, which is a standard blade in here, and then it has a locking device I can swing out, and I have a belly hook. I have a Surefire torch. I think they're the best torches on the market. Boothlow call. I carry this 6 months of the year, you know, for the row rut and also for calling muntjac as well. Harris bipod, absolutely indispensable. It's usually on my rifle. I also have a steel for my knife and a fistful of rubber gloves. Always need them, you know, keep the blood away, mess away and everything. Absolutely essential to keep a fistful of rubber gloves. Lighter, always used for wind direction. If there are eddies in the woodland and stuff, you know, just predicting the wind. Always an essential piece of kit. There's my waterproof poncho. Some clients don't come out in the most waterproof, and if I'm feeling very generous, I'll lend it to them and I'll stand looking wet and soaked like an old dog.
And your own jacket?
Yeah, this Swazi jacket is bomb-proof, really is. Totally water resistant, wind resistant, very durable, minimum noise, one of the best stalking jackets you can buy on the market.
Now we know what to take with us, it's time to put some of the kit to the test. One new item Oliver now carries with him is this Aimpoint sight. He's hoping it may come into its own today, as we are after muntjac. This interesting little deer is at home in the undergrowth, and unless you get a clear shot of him down a ride, you have to react quickly. A telescopic sight may not be the best thing to use. The Aimpoint could solve a lot of problems.
I've changed over scopes now because we're going in a particular very thick piece of woodland where we're shooting between 5 and 15 metres, and I really think the Aimpoint sight helps me far better than a standard scope. I can pick up the rifle, the red dot can be placed on the animal and I can knock it down straight away. The muntjac are very nervous in this particular woodland and I need to cull them out, and it gives me an instant picture when I want to shoot them, instead of the scope, which takes a little bit of timing to get the crosshairs. Once I get the red dot on the muntjac, I can fire and they can knock down.
Unfortunately, we don't see or hear any munties in this part of the wood, so we head off, leaving the sticks behind. This Elmer Fudd style of stalking is not something we see a lot of over here, but on the continent the Aimpoint is often used for driven and walked up game.
As a shooting aid, I feel more confident shooting with this Aimpoint sight than I do with normal iron sights. I practice with this on the range, on running target and static, and you know, you have to shoot with both eyes open, so when you raise it up and see the game running, you can just get on it straight away.
You'd imagine the one disadvantage of the sight is range, long-distance shots being out of the question. However, when we spoke to Aimpoint President Leonard Ljungfelt, he said not a chance and sent through this latest trophy shot from Alaska. This moose was 200 metres away and was shot with an Aimpoint H34S. The S stands for short distance. From the mighty moose to the midget muntjac, we are back at base getting ready and waiting for dusk. Oliver likes his home comforts and sets up his new bog pod teepee which hangs off his sticks. It gives us cover and a bit of shelter if needed. Getting in the mood, he even sends up a few smoke signals. We talk about why the muntjac is such an exciting animal to stalk, yet often gets a bad press.
I mean, I would like to see muntjac not as highly ranked as roe. I don't think you can ever knock roe off the top post, but you know, I think it's a very important species that we now have in our countryside. I think it's wonderful sport. The thing never stays still. It's a real competitive edge. You know, he's always bobbing and weaving, never really standing still, especially in this kind of dense woodland. You know, it's another, just gives another element of skill towards stalking it in a way. You know, whereas roe will come along and stand and stare at you. You rarely get that opportunity with muntjac.
With nothing happening, we're off on the hunt again. Freestyle. Losing the telescopic sight does make it a far more fluid, flexible, protean experience. This time we do spot something. It's Charlie, and Oliver is onto him straight away. And thank goodness, he is a mangy old thing.
Sometimes it's a necessity when you're a deer stalker, when landowners ask you during the pheasant shooting to sort out foxes, and we'll come across one very manky, manged up old Charlie who we dispatched with a 6.5, 55, 156 grain oryx round, and as you see that it dropped it straight on sight.
If you want to find out more about the Aimpoint range, go to www.aimpoint.com. If you like the look of the bog pod shooting sticks with or without the teepee, or you would like Oliver to take you stalking, email him on op@englishsafarico.com. Well, we're back next week, but before we go, Christmas is coming. And isn't this the perfect thing to pull out of your stocking? Yes, it's one of our DVDs. And you could get this one and more like it at special Christmas prices from the fieldsportschannel.tv DVD shop. So what DVDs are we trying to flog you? Well, we have a Year of Deer, that's 12 months, 6 species, a complete guide to how to stalk our entire cast list of British deer. We have Foxing with James Marchington and the god of fox shooting, Robert Bucknell. And we have Pigeons, the Expert's Way with James Marchington and Andy Pye.
When you look at that.
All of them packed with a lifetime of experience. Each of them's 90 minutes long, and each of them is a super $12.99. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe on the button that's somewhere around the screen there, or go to our website where you'll find that shop. And you can click to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, or scroll down to the bottom of the page where you'll find the constant contact box. And there you put your email address so that forevermore we can spam you. This has been Fieldsports Britain.